The space station was alive with sounds that never stopped. Merchants shouted their deals, mechanical carts rolled across the wide corridors, and alien travelers of every shape and color moved past each other with quick, careful steps. Lights flickered along the walls, reflecting off the polished metal floors. Somewhere far above, ships glided silently through space, docking and leaving again, each carrying people with stories, goods, and secrets. Lyra walked through the crowd, her hands wrapped tightly around the small, glowing amulet that hung from her neck. The soft, bluish light it gave off seemed to pulse slightly, as if it had a heartbeat. She felt the weight of it not just in her hands, but in her chest. This was her mother's gift, a precious family heirloom, and she had been told it was more than just beautiful jewelry. It held power. Something old and strong, and she knew she must never let it fall into the wrong hands. She tried to stay calm as she moved, weaving between merchants and travelers. Her shirt, a soft silver fabric, hugged her arms, and she adjusted it nervously, hoping she looked inconspicuous. But even in a crowded station, someone with eyes for valuable things could see the amulet. Suddenly, a shadow fell across her path. Lyra looked up, and a group of 4 rough-looking figures had blocked the corridor ahead. Their armor was mismatched, patched together from stolen equipment, and their faces were hidden behind dark visors. She felt her stomach tighten. "Give it up," one of them said, his voice harsh and mechanical. "The amulet, now." "No," Lyra said, clutching it closer. She tried to back away, but they stepped forward in unison. Quick and coordinated. Fear surged through her and her hands shook. The first man lunged, and in the struggle her shirt tore along the seam. The fabric ripped, leaving her even more vulnerable, and she cried out in alarm. One of the thieves snatched at the amulet, and for a moment she thought it was lost. Panic flooded the corridor as nearby travelers froze or ran, leaving her almost alone. Her heart raced, and she felt the sting of helplessness. She remembered her mother's warnings about the amulet. It could protect, it could warn, but it needed a strong heart to use it wisely. Was she strong enough? Then a voice cut through the fear. "Hey, stop right there!" Ethan, a human in his late 20s, stepped into the corridor. His presence was sudden and commanding. He wore a standard-issue security vest, but the rest of his uniform was casual. He didn't hesitate or pause to think. He saw Lyra being attacked and immediately acted. The thieves glanced at him, calculating whether this human was a threat. They laughed at first, underestimating him. One of them waved a clawed hand, signaling the others to finish the job. Ethan didn't wait. He kicked over a nearby supply crate, sending it sliding toward the first attacker. The man stumbled, but recovered quickly, growling in anger. Ethan moved with precision, using crates, carts, and walls as shields and weapons. He grabbed a metal rod from a cart, swinging it with practiced accuracy, knocking another thief off balance. Lyra watched in awe. She had seen security officers before, but this human was different. He didn't just fight. He thought, he anticipated, he adapted. His movements were quick but careful, almost like a dance. Each step calculated to protect her and stop the attackers without unnecessary risk. The first thief lunged at Lyra again, but Ethan was faster. He intercepted the man, shoving him back into a wall. The sound of metal against metal echoed through the corridor. Lyra felt a sudden rush of hope. Maybe she wasn't completely helpless. Maybe, with this human, they could survive this attack. One of the attackers tried to circle behind Ethan, but he noticed immediately. Ethan grabbed a loose chain hanging from the ceiling and swung it like a whip, knocking the man to the ground. Another thief, trying to grab the amulet, was pushed back by a sharp jab of Ethan's rod. Lyra felt a strange warmth from the amulet. It pulsed lightly, reacting to the courage of this human who risked himself to protect her. She didn't understand it completely, but she sensed that the amulet was alive in some way, connected to her feelings and the bravery around her. The last of the gang tried to escape, jumping over a rail toward the station's inner docking bay. Ethan didn't let him get away. He sprinted, dodging falling equipment and moving carts, and caught up with the thief. With a swift maneuver, he disarmed him and pinned him against a wall. Breathing heavily, Ethan turned to Lyra. His shoulder had a scratch, and his uniform was slightly torn, but his eyes were sharp and calm. "Are you okay?" he asked. Lyra nodded, clutching the amulet. I think so. Thank you." The attackers were subdued or fleeing. Other travelers began cautiously coming out of hiding, murmuring among themselves about the bravery of the human. Lyra realized that in this station most people would have ignored her, avoided trouble, or run for safety. But not Ethan. He had chosen to fight, to stand in front of her when she was most vulnerable. She studied him more closely. His skin was pale compared to hers, his eyes a sharp brown, and his movements human but strong. He looked ordinary at first, but she could see something extraordinary in the way he carried himself, the courage, the calm judgment, the willingness to risk himself for someone else. Why did you do that?" she asked softly. Ethan shrugged, wiping some dust off his uniform. "Because it was the right thing. Someone had to step up." Lyra's heart beat faster. No one had ever stood up for her like that, not even on her own planet. Humans were often dismissed by aliens as weak or fragile, yet here was one human who had shown courage beyond what anyone expected. I need to get somewhere safe," she said, still holding the amulet. "The amulet? It's important. My mother, she said it must never be taken." Ethan nodded. "Then let's move. You're not safe here yet." As they walked through the crowded corridors toward a quieter section of the station, Lyra noticed small signs of the attackers' influence. A tipped-over cart, a few damaged crates, and the fearful glances of other travelers. The incident had been fast, violent, and terrifying, yet it also left a sense of awe in the air. A human had stood up where many aliens had frozen. They reached a small transport bay where the crowd was thinner. Lyra glanced at Ethan, curiosity mixed with a bit of admiration. You really didn't have to fight them all by yourself. Most people would have just watched." Ethan gave a small smile. "Maybe, but I didn't see anyone else stepping in, and I couldn't let you get hurt." Lyra thought about that. In her society, humans were often underestimated. They were seen as fragile, limited, and unremarkable. Yet here was a human proving that bravery, quick thinking, and courage could outshine even the most dangerous of aliens. She felt a flicker of hope. Maybe humans had more to offer the galaxy than anyone realized. Just as she was about to speak again, a warning beep sounded from the amulet. Its glow brightened and pulsed rapidly. Lyra's eyes widened. They're coming back. Someone else is looking for the amulet." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Then we need to move fast. Can you tell me what it does?" "It protects, warns, and holds power," Lyra explained quickly. "It's tied to my family, to my mother's homeworld. If it falls into the wrong hands, they could use it for terrible things." Ethan nodded, his mind already forming a plan. He scanned the area and noticed a maintenance hatch leading to a lower corridor. "Follow me. We'll get somewhere safe and figure this out. I've dealt with worse, and I'm not letting anyone take this from you." As they slipped through the hatch into a shadowy tunnel, Lyra felt the amulet pulse again, almost as if it approved of Ethan's bravery. She had never felt such safety with anyone, human or alien. The two moved silently through the maze of pipes and corridors beneath the station, careful not to draw attention. Ethan occasionally paused, checking angles, listening for footsteps and adjusting their route. Lyra marveled at his instincts. He seemed able to predict danger before it happened, a skill few aliens possessed. Finally, they reached a small, abandoned maintenance room. It was dark, cramped, and far from prying eyes, but it would serve as a temporary safe place. Lyra set the amulet on a small metal table, its glow filling the room with a soft blue light. "You'll be safe here for now," Ethan said. He leaned against the wall, still alert, still watching the corridor outside the door. "But I think whoever wants this amulet isn't done. We need a plan." Lyra nodded, finally feeling a small sense of relief. She looked at Ethan, her eyes wide. You're not like the others. You're human, but you're amazing." Ethan shrugged again, a faint smile on his face. "I'm just someone who doesn't run from what's right, that's all." For the first time, Lyra felt hope. She knew the galaxy was dangerous, filled with people and aliens who wanted power at any cost. But she also realized that bravery could come from unexpected places, and sometimes humans, those underestimated creatures, could rise in ways no one imagined. The room was quiet now, but outside, danger still lurked. Lyra held the amulet close, and Ethan kept watch. They had survived the first attack, but the war for the amulet's safety, and perhaps the fate of her homeworld, was only beginning. In the dim light, Lyra realized that this human had not only saved her life, but had shown her something she had never believed possible: courage, resilience, and the kind of strength that could change the galaxy. And for the first time, she understood that humans were not weak. They could be heroes. As the stars outside the station's windows glittered, she whispered quietly to herself, Maybe humans are the strongest of all." Ethan looked at her, not saying a word, but he felt the weight of her words. And in that moment, both human and alien understood something. Together, they could face what was coming. Together, they could protect what mattered most. The quiet of the maintenance room did little to ease the tension. Lyra sat on a metal crate, the amulet glowing softly in her hands. She traced its intricate patterns with her fingers, thinking about her mother and the warnings she had given. The amulet was more than a trinket. It held secrets, technology, and power that many would kill to obtain. She had never imagined it would attract attention so quickly, or that someone like Ethan would risk himself to protect her. Ethan leaned against the wall, his eyes scanning every shadow, every corner of the dim room. His shoulder still throbbed from the earlier fight, but he barely noticed it. The adrenaline of saving Lyra and stopping the attackers kept his mind sharp. He had faced danger before, in security operations and emergency drills, but nothing like this. This was real, and the stakes were personal. "You saved my life," Lyra said softly. "And I don't even know your full name. Why do you care?" Ethan looked at her, his expression calm but serious. "Because it's right. Someone's in trouble and I don't just stand by. You're not just anyone. You're holding something important, something dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands. And I won't let that happen." Lyra felt a mix of awe and relief. Most aliens she knew were cautious, preferring to hide or negotiate rather than fight. Humans, she realized, had a courage that surprised her. Not reckless bravery, but a careful, steady courage that didn't depend on their size or strength, just their will. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "If they come back, we might not be able to stop them alone." Ethan's eyes narrowed, his mind already working. "Then we don't stop alone. We plan, and we prepare. I'll help you protect the amulet, and together we'll make sure it never leaves safe hands." Lyra nodded, feeling a strange hope blossom. She had never met a human who inspired this kind of trust. She carefully set the amulet down on a small table, watching as its soft light filled the shadows of the room. Hours passed as they worked quietly, discussing their next move. Lyra explained that the amulet was linked to an ancient energy system on her homeworld. Its power could protect cities, shield ships, or even disable weapons. The syndicate that had attacked her was after that power, intending to sell it to the highest bidder or use it to control technology across the galaxy. Ethan listened carefully, asking questions and making notes. His mind adapted quickly to the alien technology, asking the right questions to understand its purpose and dangers. Lyra realized that while humans were often underestimated, their ability to learn, adapt, and improvise made them unpredictable, sometimes in the best way. "Tomorrow," Ethan said, "we'll need to find a secure place to hide the amulet. Somewhere they won't find it, and where we can defend it if they come back." Lyra nodded, agreeing. "There's a storage facility on the station. It's old, rarely used, and has security locks. It might work." They rested for a few hours, the amulet's glow dimming slightly as they tried to sleep. But the station never truly slept, and neither did danger. Lyra woke suddenly to a faint noise outside the room. Ethan was already awake, listening intently. They both froze, every sense alert. A shadow passed across the small window in the door. Someone, or something, was moving silently through the corridors. Ethan signaled to Lyra to stay low. He carefully opened the door, peering into the hallway. Two figures in dark armor crept along the wall, scanning the station. "They're back," Ethan whispered. "And they brought more people." Lyra's heart raced. She clutched the amulet, feeling its power respond to her fear and urgency. Ethan stepped forward, motioning for her to follow. "Stay close, keep low. We move fast and we stay quiet." They slipped through the corridors, weaving through maintenance tunnels and avoiding security cameras. Lyra marveled at Ethan's instincts. He seemed to know where the attackers would look, predicting their paths and traps. She had never seen a human move with such precision, thinking ahead at every step. Finally, they reached the storage facility. It was dusty and quiet, filled with old crates and machinery. Ethan examined the locks, scanning them carefully. "These are old but sturdy," he said. "I can reinforce them, make them harder to break." Lyra set the amulet on a small shelf, and its glow brightened slightly. She felt comforted by its light. "It feels safer here," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "It's not perfect, but it's a start. We'll improve security, set traps if we need to, and make sure no one takes it without a fight." The hours passed as Ethan worked, rigging simple but effective security measures using tools and devices from the storage room. Lyra assisted as best she could, learning from his ingenuity. Together, they created a small, protected area for the amulet, one that would be difficult for anyone to enter without their knowledge. As they finished, a sudden alarm sounded in the distance. The syndicate had realized the amulet was no longer in the corridors. They were searching the station more aggressively now. Lyra felt her pulse quicken. "They're getting closer," she said, panic creeping into her voice. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Stay calm. We can handle this. I've fought worse odds than these before. We'll defend it together." Minutes later, the first wave of attackers arrived at the storage facility. They tried the main entrance, only to find it reinforced and locked. Ethan had anticipated this. He had set a series of motion sensors and small traps around the area. As the intruders approached, lights flashed, alarms sounded, and automated drones, patched together from old station security bots, activated to delay them. Lyra watched in awe as Ethan moved with fluid skill, taking advantage of every obstacle he had set. He disarmed traps, redirected drones, and even used a maintenance ladder to swing down and block an attacker. Each move was calculated, showing not brute force, but intelligence, adaptability, and courage. The attackers were frustrated and enraged. They expected easy prey, an alien girl alone, and a weak human. Instead, they faced someone who could think faster, fight smarter, and refuse to back down. One of the syndicate leaders finally breached a side entrance, but Ethan was ready. He confronted the intruder directly, blocking his path and using the environment to his advantage. Lyra watched, heart in her throat, as Ethan dodged a stun blade and countered with a precise strike that disarmed the attacker. The human's bravery and skill were astonishing. "You can't take it," Ethan said firmly. "Not today, not ever." The intruder hesitated, realizing this human was not just a protector, but a force to be reckoned with. Lyra felt a surge of pride for him, for the way he had stood between her and danger, showing courage that few aliens could imagine. Meanwhile, Lyra sensed something in the amulet. Its glow brightened again, reacting to Ethan's bravery and the threat around them. She reached out, focusing her will, and felt a surge of energy flow from it. The amulet didn't attack, but it enhanced the defenses they had set, making the drones move faster and the traps more responsive. She realized, with a mix of awe and fear, that her courage, combined with Ethan's, activated the amulet's power in a new way. Together, human and alien formed a formidable team. The attackers tried multiple approaches, but every attempt was thwarted. Ethan's ingenuity, combined with Lyra's connection to the amulet, made them an unstoppable pair. Hours passed, and finally, the remaining attackers retreated. Their plans had failed, their numbers diminished, and their confidence shattered. The amulet was safe, at least for now. Lyra let out a long breath, her hand still trembling slightly as she held it close. Ethan, though exhausted and injured, smiled faintly. "See? Nothing we can't handle together?" Lyra looked at him with deep admiration. You are amazing. I have never seen a human like you. You are brave beyond what anyone expects." Ethan shook his head, modest. "I just do what's right. That's all. But I've never had a partner like you before. You and this amulet, you made it stronger today. Together, we can do more than either of us alone." For the first time, Lyra truly believed it. Humans were not weak, not fragile, not limited. They could surprise, inspire, and even save the galaxy in ways others could never imagine. She realized that the legends about humans being simple or unremarkable were wrong. They were resilient, courageous, and adaptable. As the station settled into a quieter rhythm and the glow of the amulet dimmed to a soft, reassuring light, Lyra felt a sense of hope she had never known. Danger still lurked, and the syndicate would likely return. But now she had a protector, a friend, and proof that courage came in many forms. "Ethan," she said softly, "thank you for everything. I don't know how I could have survived without you." Ethan glanced at her, a faint smile on his face, tired but resolute. "You'd be surprised what a human can do when someone is counting on them. And you've got more strength than you know. Together, we can face whatever comes next." Outside the storage facility, the stars of the galaxy twinkled like distant promises. Inside, human and alien stood side by side, guardians of the amulet, proof that courage and cleverness were sometimes the greatest power of all. And for Lyra, the lesson was clear. Bravery could come from unexpected places, and humans, often underestimated, could be the strongest allies in a universe full of danger. Together, they would face what was coming. Together, they would protect what mattered most. And together, they would prove that even in a galaxy filled with threats, courage, intelligence, and a strong heart could change everything.